Welcome back, everyone, to Houston for Global Access Bars Day. This is a segment called When Success Isn't Enough, and I'm here with three lovely ladies who I think some of them are surprised to be on this segment. After talking with them, they're like, I didn't even realize I was successful, but thanks for having me. So one of the things that can invite people to choose things like access consciousness is this like ever searching for more, something greater. So Sylvia, I'd love to start with you. So how did you, where were you when you were this successful person? And what were you looking for?
Well, it's interesting. I recall the moment I came to Access. One of the questions that Dane asked me in the very first evening intro I went, and he called me up to do an energetic synthesis of being, ESB session. And the question he asked me is when was the last time you were truly happy? And I think if anybody would have asked me an hour before that, I would have said, I'm happy. You know, I have the house, I'm married, I have the kid, the dog, the cats, full-time job, insurance, life insurance and Social Security.
You had it covered.
I had it covered. I was happy, good sex, all sorts of things.
Check, check, check.
But it's so interesting because when he asked me, there was energetically an invitation to go, what's actually true? I backtracked so far until I was 3 years old. And I remember the tears coming down my eyes going, how is that possible that true joy of being hasn't been there since I was 3? So I'm not sure what that meant, but I was very surprised. And then he has this beautiful way of inviting you, like, it's there. Now you can choose to bring it to the forefront. And so I didn't consider myself successful, but at one point I was an elementary school teacher, highly demanded for parents to have their kids in my class. Why? I wasn't sure, but, and then I resigned from that, and then I worked in a corporation, an incredible wine company I came in entry with no certification, and then later 2 raises and became a manager, and it was like, okay. But it was always like I knew there was more. I always knew there was more, and yet that seemed to be a wrongness.
Miss Georgia, tell me your story.
Well, I grew up in a family that had money, and I suppose I could have coasted on that and not really created a whole lot that I guess I didn't need to just do things on my own. I didn't have that thing where I was starting from the ground up. And there was this drive though, like you were talking about, that need or that desire for more that I guess my path just kind of led me to look into spirituality and meditation, and I tried all sorts of things to get to what was true for me and what was fun. And it ended up being through a lot of doing a process of elimination, taking things out, taking a vow of chastity and no meat and no eggs and no alcohol and it's like if I could get rid of everything that might be causing a problem in my life, that I could maybe get to what was right about me, or what was what would be satisfying. And I would like to have a life that's satisfying, and I didn't, I guess, realize that hunger for more and more and more and more is something that can not only be something that just gets you cars or the things that we see that other people that they think of success as, but that it can actually be a hunger for what we can contribute to the world, finding out what our gifts are that we maybe saw as wrongnesses, or the things that we can be that gift in somebody's life that if we held ourselves back, we might not be able to contribute that change.
So the chastity and no eggs and meat, that didn't work. Is that what you're saying?
I tried it for 5 years, also 3 hours of meditation a day. So I know now when I indulge that I know what not indulging also feels like, and it's not as fun.
So Access has been a little more fun than that.
Oh my gosh, Access is so much fun. That's why I just keep coming back to more and more classes and taking bars classes and all sorts of things, because the people that you meet and the freedom that you can be to be yourself in front of other people who are discovering what it is to be them, it's just so enlivening.
Miss Pam.
Well, so I was a depressed, anxious, suicidal teenager.
Yay!
Who mostly just stayed in my house and didn't do anything. But I always had this drive to heal, to change things, like whatever was in my way that I realized was a limitation, I was like, I'm changing this. So actually, 20 plus years later, when I had a lot of therapy and I did all kinds of alternative stuff, I really loved my life and myself. I was happy, I had a marriage that worked for me and my kids, and I was a licensed clinical social worker. I was certified as a Feldenkrais practitioner. I had a direct marketing business. Like, I was doing all these things. And there's always more. And when I got introduced to the access tools, what really changed for me was physical things. I had like TMJ, carpal tunnel, I had tendonitis in my foot, and I went to a week of classes, and I was hiking a mountain by the end of the week, and dancing, and, because all these things where you have these points of view of what it means to be injured, what it means to, like, whatever area of your life it is, when you start getting your bars run and those points of view melt away, you're there present with what is, and you can change things so much easier. So I was really like having this amazing life, and then access tools just like made it a rocket ship.
I love that. I was deemed successful. I was like Sylvia, I was getting raises and promoted and all over the place. And I remember thinking one day, I think I was like 30 years old or something, I'm like, I have now reached what people like hope they reach by the time they're 50. And I've already hit that. And now what am I supposed to do for the rest of my life? So this like search for more was definitely, did not come from the cars and the job and all the stuff that you can get here. And it's come from, like you guys are talking about, this sense of joy and possibilities that's ever expanding with every time you get your bars run, or questions that you ask, or the tools and the people that you get to meet and play with. So what tips do you guys have if there's somebody who was where you were before you found access that might be feeling dissatisfied or restless, but there's no problem per se. They have everything they should have, but they're just not satisfied.
Well, I actually remember then my second live class, and Gary Douglas was doing an intro. And I remember hearing people speak about, their problems, and I just thought, like, well, there's nothing wrong. Like, I didn't see, like, I needed to fix or change anything in my life. So I asked him, I'm like, so if your life's fine, like, what do you do? Like, and he goes, keep asking, how does it get any better than this? And it seems like such a simple question, and yet the true gift and the power of that question is when you ask it, it really does get better. You just got to remember it never shows up the way you think it's gonna. And that's really, truly, it doesn't. And I would have never imagined my life to be where it's at now, way back then. I didn't know it was possible. I didn't know I even desired it. And yet it was that one question, how does it get any better than this? So ask it, and if it's the first time you're hearing the question, play with it. Like, really allow yourself to just receive the energy that comes when you ask, how does it get any better than this? No point of view. And really, like, allowing yourself to be surprised, too, with what shows up.
Even when things are not going great, ask, how does it get any better than this?
Asking how does it get any better than this is one of my favorite tools as well. And I look at, like, when you think about you being, let's say, 10 years old, and you have that kind of sweetness and appreciation and connection with that creature that maybe they shouldn't be hard on themselves. Like, what if we could actually gift that kindness to us now, even if we don't handle a situation perfectly, or we were quick in our decision making or something like that, but to extend that kind of leniency, I guess, that we would with a child with ourselves, and how, like, asking how does it get any better than this and running bars, it just clears the board instead of having to replay things over and over or to worry if you're successful or not. It's kind of more like life becomes an adventure instead of like a laid out plan.
Well, and I'd say have a bigger ask. So when I was a teenager, it was about just getting through the day and finding something in this world that made me want to live. That's not a very big ask. And like sitting here now, I realized when I got introduced to the Access tools, I started asking for like more ease and more consciousness and stuff. And I was like, now I've gotten like really comfortable, and I need a bigger ask, like to demand of myself, what else, what next, what else is possible, and to not just kind of settle for things being like this, but to keep asking for more.
I love that. One of the tools that Gary, can you guys hear me? One of the tools that is in The Joy of Business, which is a book by Simone Milasas, and one of the tools that Gary Douglas gives out is to add to your life. So as a humanoid, as someone who's got this like ever expanding itch for more, you need at least 8 to 10 things going on at one time. And I remember when I first heard this, I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, because the world tells you like, calm down, take a break, have a weekend, take a vacation. And I would like hate vacations. So the more I've added to my life, the more that I've got going on, the happier that I get. And it's the antithesis of what they tell you, whoever they is, tells you to do here. So how you guys all work with Access Consciousness now, in addition to everything else that you do. And each one of you, I think, has like 15 more jobs than you had 5 years ago. So can you talk about that and what that has changed for your life?
Well, it's interesting you say that. Like, I remember hearing that as well. Like, ad, really? Like, but there's such a lie when you're told that, you know, it's almost like what you search for is that rest period. And I was like, I'd be like 9 p.m. It's like, oh, and they're like, Sylvia, it's time to wind down. I'm all, says who? Like, you know, under my sheets trying to do things and listening to things. But yeah, I started to add way more to my life. And I'd say that there is a speed that has picked up for me, that the more I choose to create, the more I add, that it also increases my level of receiving. And so the more that I've had to be willing to receive from other people. So having my own business team, and then, you know, within Access and all the projects and the events, it takes a whole team. Like, it's not one person. So that willingness to increase my receiving by adding more has been such a gift. So, and sleep becomes irrelevant. You know, it's an international company, so people are like, Sylvia, you're up. And so there's a running joke that, you know, my lover's my laptop. So it's my laptop and my phone, because they're with me all the time. But I enjoy really this willingness to be present with so many things. And when it's light and I'm awake, yeah, I'll work, and it's irrelevant what time. So.
And has the bars contributed to that?
Oh, tremendously. I actually just got my bars run recently, and I'm like, wow, like minutes before we came up. But wow, like I would have probably gone through the day working, forgetting to get my bars run. Like, how many of you, you know, that know the bars sometimes forget, and it's like, gosh, it's such a gift. I might not know what I'm going to say when I get up on stage, but it's okay. Like that willingness to have that ease.
And one bar session can give you what 8 hours of sleep can give you. So if you are one of those people that likes to have stuff going on, the bars is a great thing if you know, maybe you can't sleep and you like to be highly active.
That's so true. I live with somebody who we run bars together, and it's just incredible, because anytime we say, either out loud or to ourselves, that we don't have time to get our bars run, that is when we should get our bars run. And there's not been one time in the last 10 years of running bars that I took time to get my bars run, and it didn't actually end up creating so much more space for me to be like way more efficient in what I was doing afterwards. So now when I'm working and I get to that like sluggish, things are starting to slow down, even 5 minutes, like running my own bars or having somebody else run my bars just for like a little break, can just be like a super efficiency boost. It's like super pragmatic.
So a lot of you may not know, but Miss Georgia is one of the wizards behind the scenes for Global Access Bars Day. And she, I've heard rumors, she learned a new video editing skill. She was editing hundreds of videos behind the scenes. So I just wanted to say thank you for all of that.
It's my
Give Georgia a big hand.
total pleasure.
And I just wonder what the bars contributed to the day of everything that you guys have created so far.
So much. I mean, seeing people's submissions of videos and photos and hearing people's stories is just, it's just incredible to perceive how that energy of relaxation being allowed, peace being allowed, reaching around the earth. It's like, this is what feels good.
Well, for me, I'd say for the first year or so that I was working with Access, I had one job. And it was like I could keep track of it. In my head, maybe I wasn't getting everything done, but I knew what needed to be done and what wasn't getting done. And then Simone asked me, would I like to contribute to this and this and this? And suddenly, all the ways that I would keep track of things in my head didn't work anymore. And I had to be willing to function very differently and to ask questions and follow the energy. And because it allows you to kind of handle way more than anyone might think is possible. And how bars contributes to that is when I'm not getting my bars run, and my daughter's over there running a camera, and she could tell you, like, sometimes I get into this like funk, and she's like, do you want some facilitation? Do you want your bars run? I'm like, no, I need to get this done. Which, of course, is when you most need to get your bars run. And when I do give myself that space and get my bars run, that capacity to function so differently and to do 20 projects and know what's required when and where, like, that's what allows us to do what we do.
Yeah, beautiful. We just have, I think, like a minute and a half left. So what is, other than how does it get any better than this and all the other tools, what's your like favorite tool for success now?
It's so interesting because there's so many tools, and I was one of those people that had the sticky notes and the recordings playing 24 hours a day, thinking they would just infuse into my home and clothes, maybe. But
totally, I actually do believe that.
But it's this one message that Dane gave earlier today, and it's where it's just not okay anymore for me to judge me. Like when that heaviness or that head tripping goes on, it's not okay. Like I'll perceive it, I might be in it for a minute, but then no, I know there's something else possible. Like trusting that the lightness that I be is gonna give me access to way more than the heaviness and trying to figure it out. I would say that's what's more.
Yeah, and to just keep going too, Dr. Dane here talks about just take 2 more steps, because sometimes it gets darkest right before the sunrise. Well, most times it's dark before the sunrise, and that tool of reminding, just keep going, just take 2 more steps, because sometimes things do seem really hard, and that doesn't mean you're not a success.
And for me, another tool that Dane talks about a lot is, if not this, what else is possible? Because like, whatever this is, like where I'm judging myself, where I'm contracting, where I'm making things into a problem, if not this, what else is possible? It just opens everything up, and I stop spinning in my crap and go, oh, I think I'll get my bars run.
I love that. I think mine would be, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you choose? And just going for it. And then the new one that I think everyone is the favorite from today is just fuck it. Right? New favorite. So thank you all for joining me, and it's truly a pleasure to work with all of you.
Yeah,
Cool.
thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.